We are born into a very unrepresentative experience, surrounded by a group of people. They care for us beyond measure, and for a moment in our lives, we open our eyes and quietly find one or two smiling faces looking at us with the most gentle and caring eyes. They watch over us, quickly wipe away the saliva that drips from the corners of our mouths, and gently stroke the fine hairs on our delicate scalp. When we finally succeed in showing our first smile, they are incredible. When we take our first steps, giggle, toddle, fall, and then continue to make progress again very bravely. Their encouragement will continue for days, not only at home, but also at school. When we encounter difficulties, the best teachers will encourage us. Teachers understand that we may be shy. They are keen to discover and encourage those tentative behaviors that show our special talents as infants. Of course, then we grow up and enter the horrible reality of living in a world that is so cold and indifferent that no one cares where we are, what we think, say, or do. And the real awakening may hit us in late adolescence, perhaps in a college dormitory or wandering the streets alone at night, when we suddenly realize how insignificant we are in the wider universe, that no passerby knows anything about us, and that our happiness has nothing to do with them. It is cruel to see how small we are compared to the towers and billboards, and how no one cares about us until we die. Unless we can correct this negative thinking and be able to remain calm, we can free ourselves from the incorrect self-awareness that has tortured us for so long, which is long-standing and highly corrosive. And in another part of our brains, on the one hand, we have not really accepted other people's indifference, but in fact, we are not only aware of it, but also deeply hurt by other people's opinions of us. When we ask the waiter for a refill of milk, we are worried that our voice is too loud or too ugly. When we buy clothes, we are also sure that the salesperson must have noticed our fat belly. When we dine alone, the restaurant staff must have spent a lot of time discussing why we have no friends. At work, my colleagues still talk about the stupid sales proposal I proposed last month. The person we were dating 4 years ago still treats us in a way that we can feel but cannot understand. We hate us in an inexplicable way. We have no actual evidence that others are paying attention to us, but we are emotionally convinced that others will pay attention to us. We can intuitively feel that everyone is paying attention to our stupidity and mediocrity. Everyone has been paying extensive attention to all aspects of us that deviate from normal society, such as our abnormal, dishonest, and undignified behavior. In order to free ourselves from this punitive delusion, we need to consciously carry out artificial thinking exercises. We must question ourselves and examine how much time we waste on other people's stupidity. How we view and think about people we don't actually know may be the best guide to understanding how the human brain works. For most people in the world, we are familiar strangers or casual acquaintances, just dealing with each other in daily life. At this moment, the conclusion is already shocking. Imagine that we are taking the elevator to the 20th floor, and there is a person standing next to us. That person thinks he knows what I am thinking. He thinks I don't like the jacket he is wearing. He thinks I will choose another jacket. He thinks the jacket he wears looks stupid and haggard, but I didn't notice the jacket he was wearing. In fact, I didn't even notice that there was someone next to me. We don't even care whether he lives or dies. We just worry about how our partner will react to mentioning that our mother had a cold last night. Or imagine that at the end of a 2-hour meeting, we suddenly notice that our colleague's hairstyle is indeed a little different today. Even if we can't be sure what's different, even if our colleague spent a lot of money on this new hairstyle and thought carefully about whether the new Tony teacher he chose was a wise choice. In other words, when we are guided by our own brains, we may not be so depressed. We will have a more accurate grasp of what is going on in the minds of the people we meet. From a perfect perspective, of course, it is not very accurate. Of course, this kind of thinking can be said to be a double-edged sword. The bad side is that no one may notice when we die. And the good side is that others will definitely not notice that we accidentally knocked over an orange branch or had an ugly hairstyle. But this does not mean that we or they are bad people. Our lack of concern for others is not absolute. If we really saw a stranger drowning, we would definitely stand up for him. When a friend is heartbroken, we will also be grateful. He has sympathy, but in most cases, we need to make a selection. One of the reasons why our daily lack of concern is completely rational and forgivable is that we need to focus a lot of energy on the right direction and treat ourselves fairly. Once we start to think about the relationships around us, careers, financial situations, health, close relatives, children, upcoming holidays, friends and family situations, there is little time left to pay attention to a customer's sudden high-pitched voice or a colleague's dress. We lack active thinking from different tragic perspectives. We should not just feel hurt by other people's indifference. What is important is that we should think about others appropriately. We should not just feel the hurt of being ignored, but should truly accept the freedom hidden behind indifference, and then in turn embark on a more courageous journey of survival. It is very likely that some stupid things will happen during the journey, such as starting a new business, going on a romantic date, or asking questions in a meeting. We may all fail, but what we can be sure of is that almost no one will care about what we do. Thinking this way is more important than anything else and is very beneficial to our future success. Now we have more or less understood this truth. It's none of our business.